Hey there, welcome. I'm Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy, your guide to the night sky this week. Thanks so much for joining me once again. I've got the chat open, the comments. I'm so happy to see all of you guys from all around the world watching. We've got folks from Australia. We've got folks in Montana and in Mexico, in Alberta, Canada, in Budapest, Hungary. Fantastic. So amazing to see. Do share where you're watching from. I love to see that in the comments section. And of course, we're all here to talk about what we can see in the night sky this week. And why don't we dive right in? So I'm going to switch over to my planetarium. Let me get this perfectly fit there. There you go. This is set at sunset today, January 17th, as we're recording. Local sunset where you've got clear skies tonight. This is what will greet you over the course of looking from east to western part of the sky. You can see it's kind of curved. It's a fisheye lens view that I have here. So it really encompasses over about more than 180 degrees in our vision here. But what I want you to look at, you'll see our friends Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, those three planets off in the western part of the sky at sunset. Now, whether you're watching in the southern hemisphere or in the northern hemisphere, these are the planets that will be visible, but they'll be oriented slightly differently. Now, remember, I'm located in Montreal, Canada, which is about at the 45-degree north latitude. So I'm halfway between the equator and the North Pole. So that this is the view of the sky for a lot of people that are in the Northern Hemisphere in major population centers like Rome, Italy, New York, Washington in the United States, Toronto, Canada, also in Tokyo, Japan, just to give you an idea. But those of you that are near the equator or south of the equator, the same thing applies. The same celestial objects and the groupings are visible. It's just that they're oriented in different ways, but you'll still see them together like this. So what you'll notice right off the bat here is you've got Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter dominating the very low southwestern skies. Now, Jupiter is sinking quickly. By the end of January, by the end of this month, Jupiter will be quite a bit of a challenge to see. And if we just go 1 hour after sunset, you'll see what I mean. Jupiter sinks quite a bit there. That's an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours after sunset, local time, wherever you are, Jupiter will be off underneath your western horizon. So that's why you want to catch that planet right now, because it's heading towards conjunction where with the sun, so that we'll lose it in the glare of the sun coming in February for sure. And Saturn and Mercury are there too. Now, what we'll see in later this evening, and of course, if you're watching this on Monday, January 17th, it is a full moon. It's actually called the wolf moon. This full moon here in North America, particularly in the United States, according to the Farmer's Almanac, this is a common name here in North America for the full moon in the month of January. And that's because wolves are heard in the frosty time period that we are in, of howling at the moon. It's also known as the frosty moon as well. Some people, of course, in North America right now where I am, it is a snowstorm. It's minus 15 degrees Celsius with the wind chill that's like minus 25 to 30 outside, right outside my window now. So very appropriate. The wolf moon is rising very soon after your local sunset tonight. So if you're watching on Monday, January 17th or on the 18th, you'll notice that the moon, the full moon, which by the way happens at 6:38 p.m. Eastern time, North American time. That's the official time that it's full, but it will appear full Tuesday morning, January 18th, and also Tuesday night, January 18th as well. And you're looking for the full moon rising in the northeastern sky very soon after your local sunset. That's when you want to be watching for that beautiful full moon. And like any other time, watching it rise is really one of the best times to see the full moon, because you get that optical effect of where the full moon appears larger than it actually is. It's an optical illusion. It's something where there's a trick in the human mind where the full moon is silhouetted juxtaposed next to the foreground objects of the earth. And so it plays a trick on the mind, and it makes the full moon look unusually large to the naked eye. And you can test this out, by the way, if you want to test out this illusion of that there is no change in the actual size of the full moon from when it's near the horizon to when it's high up in the sky, is you can take your thumb, and your thumb is about the same width as the disk of the full moon. It'll easily cover the full moon disk by holding it out stretched like that, and you put it out above the moon, and you'll see that it actually does cover the full moon the same way as it does a few hours later. You can check it again, and it still covers that full moon disk very easily. And so check that out. That's tonight, January 17th. It's officially the full moon. Beautiful to see, especially if you have a lot of snow like I do. It can be a great photo opportunity too, to see that silvery kind of bluish color silhouetted on the onto the ground. It's just absolutely beautiful. And to boot, as the moon is rising, here we go, an hour after local sunset, you'll see that it is positioned tonight next to two bright stars, a yellow star right there and a white star. And those are, yes, the Gemini twin star, Castor and Pollux. So these two stars are going to be very close to the moon on Monday night. And of course, Castor is a star that's about 50.9 light years away, while Pollux is about 33.8 light years away. Just something to think about when you're watching the moon. And remember, the moon is about 440,000 kilometers away. Actually, I'll give you the exact, let me see if I can do that here. Maybe it's a little slow, my computer. But yeah, 440,000 on average is the distance of the full moon. And let me see, here we go. It's 399,658,000 kilometers, the specific distance of the moon. Here you can see the track of the full moon I have kind of silhouetted. I'm going to turn that off because we don't want to confuse folks. Here we go. So we have the moon at nearly just under 400,000 kilometers, and it takes about 1.3 seconds for the light to reach us, your eye. So when you're watching the full moon tonight, just think about that. It's kind of neat to think that. And it's very close to these two brilliant stars near the moon. And while you're watching that full moon, Monday and Tuesday, look for that amazing grouping of my favorite stars, and I know a lot of you guys love it too, is Orion. The Orion constellation will be rising just soon after sunset in the east. Right now, it's the dominant portion of the night sky that in the winter time for the northern hemisphere. And for those of you in the southern hemisphere, same thing. Orion is fantastic, is really highlighting the evening skies. Of course, look for those three stars that mark the belt of Orion. It's Mintaka, Alnilam, and Alnitak. That's the name of those three belt stars. Remember that the shoulders of the Orion the Hunter are marked by Bellatrix and Betelgeuse. You've probably heard of Betelgeuse before, or Betelgeuse, as some are in some pronunciations. But of course, its claim to fame is that it is a red giant about 550 light years away from us, and we think it will go supernova sometime within the next 100,000 years. Betelgeuse will be so bright it might be competing with brightness or overwhelm even the full moon. Imagine casting shadows in the evening when it does explode. Luckily, it's far enough away, it won't really cause any harm to our planet at 550 light years away. That means that we're actually watching the star as it appeared 550 years ago. Maybe it's already undergone a supernova explosion. We won't know that. If it happened today, we won't know that for another 5 centuries. It'll take that light, that explosion light, to propagate through interstellar space to reach us. Imagine that. It's really hard to wrap our minds around. The distances are just so vast that it takes light that long to travel from this star, this amazing star. And of course, underneath is the sword, underneath the belt of Orion is the sword of Orion, and the center star in the sword is marked by this beautiful object, which was called Orion Nebula. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like. If I can, let me see here. Orion Nebula is just fantastic. Take a look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? That's the Orion Nebula. It's almost like three-dimensional, it's like an artist painting here. And it's a nebula, basically a star factory over 1,300 light years from Earth. Again, you're looking back in time 1,300 years when you're looking at the Orion Nebula. And you see all of that detail here. You can see with my mouse, I'm showing you. Just look around the edge here. It's three-dimensional. These clouds, these purple clouds on the edge, are a little bit closer to us. And this is kind of like a hole in the cloud. And in here, in the back, is this very shining group of stars. That is where these baby stars, maybe no more than a few million years old, are lighting up this in an intense way through ultraviolet light, through intense radiation, all this gas cloud around it. So it's sort of like these little baby stars that are in the center here are cocooned in this beautiful, colorful gas cloud that surrounds it. It's why we call it a star factory, this kind of nebula. It's an emission nebula. That's the astronomical term that's used for this kind of, and it's 1,300 light years away, and you can see it with the naked eye, even from suburban skies. This is visible. Again, where are we watching? We're looking in the east, southeastern sky, early evening. You still see that glow from the twilight, but if we kind of magically go later in the evening, like say 7, 8 o'clock local time, this is where you're looking in the southeast sky. Look for those 3 stars just to the far right of the full moon on Monday night. Now, if we go further into this week and follow the moon. The moon actually shows us some really goes through some interesting constellations. Here, if we go to Tuesday night, you'll see it's smack dab in the middle of Cancer the Crab constellation. Again, this is in the early evening as the moon is rising. This is again on Tuesday, but you'll see this is a fainter constellation with fainter stars. But if you've got binoculars or a small telescope, the moon will act as a great guidepost, even though it's very bright and of course it's washing out your views. I want you to try to see if you can spot this little star cluster called M44. M44, it's also called the Beehive. Those of you that have been with me for a while know that I've talked about the Beehive star cluster. I love this because it's just so brilliant. The moon is going to act as a guidepost on Tuesday night, January 18th, showing us M44 or the Beehive star cluster. Now, the Beehive star cluster looks like this through a telescope. You can see it with binoculars. It's bright enough. Even the naked eye, if the moon was out of the sky, at this part of the sky, you'd see it. So Tuesday night's not a great time to see it visually with just your eyes, but break out those binoculars and telescopes and point it just to the next to the moon. Scan it just to the right of the moon, and you'll see this kind of little clustering. You can see right here in this animation right here, that little clustering. That's M44. That is the Beehive cluster next to the moon. So this is about what it would look like through binoculars. You can see where's the moon, there's the little Beehive star cluster. And you're wondering how far away it is. Here's the data on it. It's 610 light years away. That is the distance of this cluster. So this group of stars were all born together. They're associated with each other. That's why they're huddled together. And they are, maybe 100 million years old or a few 100 million years old at most. They're young, fairly young stars, and that's why they're still huddled together, and they'll wander away over the course of their lifetime. They'll separate away. So we're kind of lucky to be able to see M44. Again, that's what we're talking about here, M44. We're lucky to see it as it looks like right now. And imagine 610 light years away. It takes over 6 centuries for the light to reach your eye from this cluster, the Beehive cluster, which is next to the moon on January 18th. So that's where the moon is. And then, lo and behold, by Wednesday, the moon, let's raise it up a little bit later at night. Let me move it to about 7, 8 o'clock at night, or 9 o'clock. Let's make it like that. By 9, 10 o'clock at night, you can see the moon, which is now waning. It's after the full moon of January 17th. It's getting, the phase is making the moon look smaller than a full disk, right? It's heading towards a crescent phase. And you'll see it's inside Leo the Lion. Beautiful constellation, a zodiacal constellation rising in the east. Now, this constellation is really dominant in the early evening skies of springtime. So those of you guys stuck in middle of winter like I am, and you're kind of craving and for those nice warmer temperatures that spring brings, well, here you are. It's going to come. Astronomically, the sky is pointing the way that spring is on its way in a couple of months, in March, of course, officially starting. But you can see some of those constellations of springtime in the northern hemisphere, or fall time for those of you in the southern hemisphere. That change in the season is being heralded already in the skies, in the evening skies for us. And here in the east is rising one of those dominant springtime constellations, Leo. There it is. The moon is going to be right down in the middle of it. And next to it will be a bright star next to the moon. Again, we're looking on Wednesday night, January 19th. The moon is going to be next to the bright star Regulus. Regulus marks the heart of Leo the Lion, and it is a star that's about 79 light years away. It's a blue-white dominant, one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and the moon will be right next to it. Now, if we continue going into later in this week, by Thursday, the moon is still in Leo. Friday night, it will be at the tail, just underneath the tail of Leo the Lion. And what you can look for, and you want to know, make sure that to see where the moon is, look at that. See these 3 stars marking the tail of the lion, Leo the lion? The nebula is the brightest of these 3 stars that make up the tail or the back end, the rump of the lion. So check that out if you can. Again, this is Friday night on January 21st. The moon will be next to the tail or at the feet, behind the feet of Leo the lion. And by the next night, Saturday and Sunday, if we go up to Sunday, let me get later at night. Again, now we're looking at near midnight time is when the moon, the waning gibbous moon will be rising next to Spica. You see that bright star lower right of your screen? That is the lead star in the constellation Virgo, the maiden. And the moon, this is again on January 24th, Monday morning, Sunday night, depending on where you are, you'll be seeing the moon next to another brilliant star called Spica. But Spica is much farther away than Regulus was. Remember, Regulus was 79 light years away. Spica is 250 light years away. Over 2.5 centuries it takes light from Spica to reach your eye. It's incredible. And it'll be right next to the moon. And if you'll notice, an orange star off to the far left of the moon, Sunday night, Monday morning, that is Arcturus, the lead star in the constellation Buddhas, the charioteer. And Arcturus is a star that is 36 light years away. So you're looking back 36 years in the past when you're looking at Arcturus. That's how long light takes to reach us here. Now, let me show you some other things in the morning sky. So if we set it to sunrise, those of you early birds that do get up in the morning, there's stuff to see at dawn as well. If you look towards the southeast, you'll notice a pairing of some bright stars, and some of those stars are actually planets. Now, the brightest by far, Venus. Do you remember we were just talking about Venus in December, and in the fall and summer, we were looking at Venus in the evening skies. Well, Venus has now popped its head up in the early morning skies at sunrise. So at dawn, if I go an hour before, or let's say 45 minutes before sunrise, you'll see that beautiful, bright, beacon-like star in the southeast. That is Venus. Here's the view of at around 45 minutes before your local sunrise. And to the right of Venus will be Mars. It'll look like a faint orange star. The planet Mars is right there. And then there's some other things, like another Mars-like dot will appear in the sky. That's Antares, the brightest star in the constellation Scorpio, will be off to the far right of the pairing of Venus and Mars. And on the other side of the Venus-Mars pairing will be another bright star called Altair. That is the lead star in the constellation Aquila, the eagle. And so you've got these beautiful kind of arc of star-like objects, with Venus being by far the crown of that jewel crown, I should say jewel in that crown of Altair, Venus, Mars, and Antares. Just a beautiful array of bright, shimmering diamonds in the early morning skies looking towards the southeast all week long. So there you have it, folks. Another busy week. Lots of interesting things, and these are things that you can see with the naked eye, with binoculars or a small telescope, things that you can kind of challenge yourself in understanding the night sky and being able to navigate it. And that's what I'm here to guide you for every week. So if you like this video, please show your support by subscribing to my channels, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch. I'd love to see your support by hitting that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you all next week. And until then, I wish all of you clear skies. Bye-bye.